Sajid. Sajid. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Actually, Divyarani ma'am hasn't finished the
audible?
class yet. She just now finished. All maybe come in a while, in 1, 2, 3 minutes.
Okay. In that case, shall we start after some 10 minutes? Right now it is 11:02. Shall we start at 11:10? In that case.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Okay, then just put in the group that I'm going to start at 11:10.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಮುಗಿಯೋದು ಬರ್ತಾನೆ ಆಯ್ತು ಇದು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಅಂತ ಇಂದು ಇನ್ನಿತ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಎನಿಕ್ಕ ಇಂದು ಒಂಜಿ ಉಂಡು ನಾನು ಇತ್ತ 10 ಗಂಟೆ
All right. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. So what was the last component we have discussed yesterday?
We have started with the cycle 2, sir.
Cycle 2 and I
We have
think
done with critical path and its duration.
critical path. That was the last. And
Yes,
we are yet to list the critical activity. Okay. All right. So what was the last thing? Just tell me. The critical path. Yes, tell me. What is that
1-2
critical path? This was the last statement. Critical path
and its duration.
and its duration. So what was it?
1-2,
Okay.
2-3, 3-5, 17 days.
Thank you. Only one critical path.
And one more, sir. 1-2, 2-4, 4-5.
I
17
understand.
days.
So now we are yet to list the critical activities. So what are the critical activities? What should be the critical activities? We have listed the critical path, and looking at it, can we decide what are the critical activities? Critical activities are 1-2, next
2-3
2-3, correct? Next
5 2-4
okay.
4-5
Correct. These are the different types of critical activities. Now, once these are done, we have to decide which activity we are going to select for activity duration. Correct. So those who have already completed this, make a list of critical activities and normal duration, crash duration, normal cost, crash cost, and increment cost, and decide which activity has to be reduced or which activity has to be selected for reduction. Okay, so this is done. I will go to the next screen. Tell me the list of activities. Okay, there is no need of writing all the columns once again. Okay, why? Because this is already written. We have written it before. in our last class. So here the important aspect is increment cost for each of the critical activities. So dash 2, dash 4, dash 5, 2 dash 3, 2 dash 5. What are the increment costs? Can anyone tell?
600. 200.
200. Next,
100.
for 4 dash 5 it is 100, is it right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next to 2 dash 3.
70.
Okay.
400.
And 4. Now, what we are supposed to do, list of critical activities are there and increment cost is. What is the next step? After listing the critical activities, what is the next step? We also have,
Selecting the activity which has the least increment cost.
apart from Srividya, anyone else?
We have to select 2-3 because it is less increment cost.
Select 2 dash 3 because that's the less increment. That's right. Therefore, is it right? So we select this activity for duration reduction. Okay, so now we have to decide by how many days we are going to reduce this 2-3 activity. By how many days can we reduce this 2-3 activity? 1 day or 2 days?
1.
1 day. So normal duration. We have to see what is the normal duration for this. So normal duration for 2-3 is equal to how much? What is the normal duration for 2-3?
7.
7,
Dash duration.
6,
Therefore, total number of possible is equal to 7 minus 6 is equal to 1. But only question remains here is can we reduce 2-3 activity by 1 day? Should we reduce this activity by 1 day or not? This is the next question. If we reduce 2-3 activity by 1 day, what will happen to the critical path?
Becomes non-critical.
Correct. 2-3, if 2-3 is reduced by 1 day, then the critical path, which is actually taking 17 days, now it will become 16 days because you have reduced that path by 1 day. That is the reason that the critical path will become non-critical. So we cannot reduce 2-3 activity. Okay. So in this case, Any suggestions like which activity can be used? Okay, but before selecting the next activity, I'm just repeating this once again, particular step. 2-3 activity cannot be reduced by 1 day. Why? Because if you reduce 2-3 by 1 day, what will happen is the path 1-2-3-5, which is actually taking 17 days, now it will become 16 days and it will become non-critical. Okay, that is the reason we cannot consider this particular reduction. Okay, so my question is, instead of 2-3 activity, can we select any other activity? Okay, so I'm just going for the next screen. In case if anyone wants me to come back, and if anyone has any doubts, you are supposed to ask. Okay, cannot reduce. Not reduce activity 2-3. Because if we reduce this, then the critical path 1-2-5 equal to 17 becomes 16 days. On okay, so this is the reason why we are not selecting 2-3 activity for activity reduction. Now, can anyone tell? So if this is not selected for activity reduction, then which activity can be considered here? Apart from 2-3 activity, can any other activity be reduced? We have to reduce in such a manner that the critical path remains critical even for the next possibility of type of reduction.
No, sir.
Oh, yes, that's right. We cannot reduce this further, but any other possibilities still one more possibility is there.
1-2 maybe.
-2 activity can be reduced. Why? Because 1-2 is common in both the paths. Activity 1-2 is common in both the paths. That is different thing. Like even after reducing 1-2 activity by 1 day, you will not be getting the answer. It is different thing, but you can just try and see if we can get a lowest project cost by reducing 1 day. Okay. Actually, the problem ends here, but in case if you want, you can just still continue from saying that 1-2 activity is a common activity in both the critical paths. Okay, so that is the reason you want to reduce this by 1 more day and try to calculate the project cost and see. -2 activity common the critical path. This activity reduce this activity by 1 day. Okay, any doubts? Anyone?
Sir, we have reduced it in the first cycle. Can we reduce it again?
No, I don't think first the first cycle, I think it was 4-5.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now it is 1-2. If anyone has any doubts, you can ask. So just see 1-2 activity, reduce it by 1 day and see what is the revised project completion duration. What should be the revised project completion? So what is the critical path duration? So tell me what is the revised critical path duration? 1, 2, 4. Path duration after reducing 1-2 by 1 day. How much? Will it be equal to 16 days? Correct?
Yes, sir.
So therefore, revised project cost is. So just calculate the revised project cost. This would be the last step. Total cost. Correct. So indirect cost for how many days?
16 days.
For 16 days. Next, increment cost for which activity?
One dash two.
1-2 plus increment cost for which activity?
4-5.
4-5. The previous cycle. 4-5. Correct. Since initially the project completion duration was 90 days. Now the revised project duration is 16 days. That means what? 3 days you have adjusted. 3 days adjustment you have to show. 2 days you have adjusted 4-5. 1-2 activity you have adjusted 1 day. Totally 3 days you have adjusted. That increment cost has to be. Just calculate the total project cost and tell me the answer. So anyone with the answer? Revised project cost? Or if there is any doubts or any clarification required, just tell me.
$5,700.
Is it less than the previous or more than the previous?
It's more than the previous.
Components. So what is the total normal cost? 1,700. Next, 16 rupees into 16 days into how much?
200.
₹100. Correct? That is the increment cost for 4-5. Is it right? ₹100 into increment cost for activity 4-5.
One into 600.
Finally, what was the cost you said? Cost was 5,000,
700.
greater than the previous project cost. What was the previous project cost?
5,300.
Therefore, we stop. Okay, so 5,300 optimum project cost and 17 days should be the project completion. Okay, so optimum. How much? 16 days or 17 days?
17 days.
This is the final answer. Okay, so until now, what we have discussed is uh, discussed some topics. The project duties are exactly known. Means what each of the activity duties are exactly known by the project manager. So no sort of probabilities or chance activity. Each and every activities we have considered exact durations. But our next topic, which we are going to discuss now, so in that particular topic, we are going to consider the project which is being handled for the first time by the project. For example, one of the project can be new product. So the new product development, what happens? Let us assume that it is iPhone itself. When iPhone was actually built, okay, when the iPhone was actually not now, but some years before, correct? The project manager didn't have any type of idea. Functionalities, whatever the features are, correct? Otherwise, other smartphones were available. Other sort of handsets, smartphones were not introduced. That is the reason uh, smartphones concept was actually started, correct? So that is the reason uh, project managers had experience developing a normal phone hand, but not a smart hand. So smartphone handset developed totally a new project. And then they what is the exact duration taken for each of that, in order to complete each of that. While developing a normal handset, the managers were very much experienced and they knew exactly what the duration, procurement, correct? Collecting the requirements, hardware, software, and the testing. Everything the project managers were doing in terms of in case of on, but not for the smartphones. So now what we are going to consider is how to determine the project estimates parameters for the projects which are newly built or was not built by the project manager. For such type of the projects, we try to develop the different type of the parameters. Our next, what is called as um, and so called PERT. PERT. PERT Okay, so has taken down this. Time is which are those time estimates? First one is optimistic time estimate. Second one is third one. So these are the three third calculations. So let's look at each one, each of the time estimates. One by one. Okay, so we'll see one by one. It is optimistic time estimate. It is also called as both means. Okay. This, approach. An optimistic approach. All the circumstances. Remain in favor, then the so what it means here is, let us assume that one of the activities purchase of the raw material for building construction. We are trying to purchase the raw material. Now, what will happen is, if everything works fine, uh, possibly this is a very new type of building that contractor doesn't know exactly what is about. Correct, because the raw materials required for that particular different types of raw materials. So project the contractor may not have this type of project before. So in such case, what will happen is the project manager or the contractor exactly doesn't know what time this activity will finish, because the raw material has to be identified and the contact person has to communicate with, and then the logistics have to be taken care, so on and so forth. Is it right? So all this process has to be complete. So that is the reason this purchase of raw material or activity, if everything goes fine, then this activity will finish as soon as possible. But otherwise, it takes normal time. So that is the reason optimistic time estimate is being suggested by the contractor. Okay, if everything is ideal situation, if everything goes fine, then this time estimate used as a project activity completion duration. Okay, the first one is optimistic time estimate. Similarly, we have the next one, normal time estimate, or the most likely time estimate. Just make note of this. Is it done? Has everyone written this optimistic time estimate explanation? Okay, so one of them have asked as to why we are supposed to add 4-5 increment cost in our previous problem. Now, okay, so the explanation is very much simple. Okay, so just make note of this. I will just go back to the previous problem. That is one of the advantage of online class. I can go back to the previous, had it been the offline class, it would have been difficult for me to go back to the previous problem. Okay, so I'm just going back to the previous problem for a few moments. Now the question here is why we are considering the increment cost for 4-5. Last calculation. The explanation is very much simple. Initially, if you have to see in our first calculation, the normal time the project took in order to complete the project was 19 days. Initially, 19 days was taken to complete the project, but now in this particular cycle, it is 16 days. That means we have saved on 3 days. Is it right, Wenzel?
Yes,
we
sir. Yes, yes.
Correct. So 3 days we have adjusted. Is it right? Now 3 days adjustment we have to show it somewhere. So how do we indicate that is nothing but 2 days? Not 2 days. 2 days is saved. We have reduced 2 days in 4-5 activity, and we have reduced 1 day in 2-2 1-2 activity. Correct. So 2 days here, 1 day here. 2 plus 1 is 3. That, so 3 days where we have reduced, it is nothing but 2 days in 4-5 and 1 day in 1-2. Correct. So this has to be indicated because only after reducing 4-5 by 2 days and only after reducing 1-2 by 1 day, we are able to reduce this project duration from 19 to 16 days. Correct. Is it right? Am I making the point?
Yes.
That is the reason we have to consider. This is the same for all the problems. Not only this. Almost all the problems will do the same type of calculation. We have to consider the previous cycles first, always. In case if we are going for the next cycle, let us assume that in this cycle you have got the project cost lesser than the previous. And if you are continuing this problem, then what will happen is in the next cycle, you will have to consider both increment cost for 4-5 and increment cost for 1-2 plus the increment cost of the next cycle, whatever that activity you are considering. Correct? Is it fine?
Yes.
Basically the explanation. Okay, so I'm just going ahead to the next start. Most likely time is okay, so otherwise we'll stop now. Also to the lunch hours. So okay, we stop now and tomorrow morning we'll start the same topic. All right, so we'll continue this in the next class. Okay. And just for your information, I have uploaded all the online classes. It has been conducted until the last week. Okay, so all the online classes are uploaded in the uploaded. Correct. So you can just go to that particular link and see all the online classes. If you have missed any online class or if you have not understood any of the concept which we have done previously, you can just refer that online video. Still, if you have not understood, then you can class years just send me the list of absent. Okay, thank you. Yes, yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.